Yes, hot topic for content creators. This is where I pitch a hot topic to you guys, and then you, in turn, either turn around and produce your own video in response to my pitch. And then if you tag me in your video, I will then, in turn, do a response to your video. Or you could just go ahead and drop me some comments down below and share your thoughts, and I will address them in turn during a future broadcast. One of our hot topic threads is TradPub obsolete? Yes, is TradPub obsolete? And just a quick comment from Twitter. Of course, we hearing from Stephen Hudson. He just chimes in with his 2 cents. Simply says, absolutely not. Self-pub mostly produces junk. He just wanted to share his opinion on that. However, I would say that he should not speak too soon, because I do have 2 articles that I'm going to be addressing during this segment that points to the contrary. Looks like we have, coming out of HarperCollins, like I said before, one of the big 5. This first article, entitled, "It's a Cycle of Misery and Low Pay. HarperCollins workers launch indefinite strike for a livable wage." Yes, we're getting into the economic angle of this story here. Let's get into it. Based on the headline, I can tell that we're already going to be dealing with some kind of hot button issues. Might get a little political, might get a little bit ideological. We'll see. Basically what I'm saying is I'm going to do my best to approach this subject matter with an even keel. However, best believe if I smell some bullshit, I'm going to keep it real. So let's get into it. About 200 workers at the New York City office of HarperCollins, one of the big 5 English language publishing companies, launched an indefinite strike on Thursday. The workers, who are members of United Auto Workers Local 2110, want wage increases to keep up with surging inflation in what is one of the most expensive cities in the world. The HarperCollins workers include editors, designers, salespeople, and marketing personnel. Interesting. I have something to say about that. Their last negotiation contract expired at the end of 2020. Go figure. And the UAW has extended it for almost 2 years. During this time, workers have not had any significant raises, even as prices of shelter and staple goods have risen steadily. So I don't know about how you guys feel about that. Is it, that kind of raises a question that goes beyond publishing in and of itself. But apparently this is one of the big 5, one of the big dogs. Okay, one of the big 5 is allegedly not paying their employees a livable wage. Okay, is that part of their responsibility? Is that something that they should be doing? I'm sure you guys can fill me in as to what your opinions are on that matter. But I really want to look at this and see how it pertains to whether or not TradPub is obsolete. Definitely raises some flags. Like I say, these are old school business models. More on that in a second. So, negotiations began in January 2022, and the extended contract expired in April. These are kind of like the inside baseball type stuff. Workers say that the company, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch's News Corporation, is stonewalling and not taking negotiations seriously. Okay, except for a one-day strike on July 20th, which workers supported by a margin of 99.5%. The United Auto Workers bureaucracy has kept workers on the job, allowing the company to beef up its financial war chest and prepare for a strike. So this, oh yeah, by the way, this article comes from the World Socialist website, by the way. So I have 2 articles, okay? I'm trying not to be too biased about this when it comes to these news article things, these news article stories. So the World Socialist website spoke with several HarperCollins workers on the first day of the strike. Parrish is an editorial assistant, but also performs responsibilities related to acquisitions. He has been with the company for a year and estimates that he works on 30 or 40 books per year. He's only been with the company for a year. Imagine only being with the company for a year and you're already demanding pay raises. I don't know. I'm kind of old school in that way. Like you'd have to be like you're not even vested in the company. Like even in corporations that have that offer employees like 401k packages, like you have to be like, in order to gain the full benefit, like you'd have to be vested in you have to become vested in the company, which typically is around it could be anywhere from 5 to 7 years before you are considered like fully vested in the company. So anyways, let's see what else they have to say. And they're outside, mind you. The publishing industry is notorious for underpaying its workers. So I'm noticing just right off the bat, I am noticing some bias in this article here, but then again, it is from the World Socialist website, so the bias is pretty clear from the get-go. The publishing industry is notorious for underpaying its workers. It's almost as if like these people have no sense of agency. You know what I mean? As if it's like it's the company's responsibility to make sure that all of these people are taken care of in that sense, and they're not actually just applying for a job, and they understand and they sign like a workers agreement up front beforehand. But I digress. Let's continue on here. The publishing industry is notorious for underpaying its workers, and Parrish explained that wages at HarperCollins are at the low end of the scale. An entry-level worker at HarperCollins makes $45,000 per year. That I can see how that's considered peanuts for New York City, but let's get into this. We're getting into the economics here. A few years ago, HarperCollins paid entry-level workers only $36,000. Okay, a lot of people have second jobs, said Parrish. He is considering getting part-time weekend work at a bookstore to make ends meet. Parrish estimated, I mean, it doesn't necessarily, I know this is kind of like a side thing, but why does it have to have something to do with books or publishing? You know, you can have multiple jobs that don't relate with one another. You know what I mean? I've done all types of jobs throughout my lifetime. I've scrubbed dishes, stocked shelves, moved freight by hand. Like, a lot of the jobs that I've had throughout my life were manual labor jobs. And a lot of manual labor jobs will pay you handsomely, but they are labor intensive though. But you know what I mean? If you want to get your bills paid, I don't know. Let's get into this before I freaking go into a thrombo here. Yet the company claims that workers' wage demands are fanciful. Yet the company claims that workers' wage demands are fanciful, he said. Another grievance, I mean, you're talking about a corporation here. So if you see in the photo, one thing that I'll just want to state is like the lack of self-awareness. One, the lack of self-awareness. Two, the lack of agency that, you know, is being projected here. I'm not going to try, don't want to point any individual out in general here. I'm just saying, as the group mentality, this group mentality is like, there's just this air of entitlement that just does not resonate with me whatsoever. Like, I cannot sympathize with this, because as you can see in the photo, like, and part of it too is the union itself. Like, unions are trash in nowadays. Like, they're like, unions are just as bad as the corporations. Like, they're getting paid their dues. It's the union leaders pulling the strings, and they're in cahoots with the corporations themselves. Like, people think that, like, the unions are there to represent the worker, and it's like, look what you're doing in the name of the union right now. You're going on strike. You going on strike is effectively helping out the union leaders themselves, the good old boys, the Teamsters, if you will, and with, as they go to war, as they infight with the corporation to try and get themselves a better frickin' deal. Do you think that the unions give a shit about the individual employee that might be working for the company? Come on, man. It's not, this is Three Musketeers, one for all for one type of deal. They don't. You are effectively cannon fodder for their cause. And that's what these unions do. They use the employees as cannon fodder for their own cause, the union leader's cause, not your cause. Yeah, you want these things, but meanwhile, who's wasting their time out there? Who's wasting their time, your precious, precious time, standing outside, holding a stupid sign and protesting for a cause that you yourself have no, like, you don't even have a dog in the race. Like, this is just your job. We are in a new age. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Days of developing a career are kind of going the way of a dinosaur. That's not how things are going to be done as we move into the future. Is there still going to be companies and businesses? Yes, but not on such a large scale. Depending on how things go economically. But as you can see, the market is transforming. There is a paradigm shift happening, and we are entering into this new age where resources are highly abundant and accessible to the average individual, but which is then going to turn into this like pseudo small marketplace type of deal where it's like you'll have big corporations dealing with like the big things like distribution and stuff like that and manufacturing, and then you're going to have a lot of smaller micro businesses, which is effectively is going to be broken down to the lowest common denominator, which is going to be individuals. Effectively, it's going to be individuals working amongst other individuals. Something that I hate seeing most of all is not necessarily people wasting their time, because there's people who waste their time each and every single day. And what people do with their time, quite frankly, is none of my business. I only mind my business. And I'll tell you right now, anyone that I've ever known that was successful during their lifetime or reached success in their life or had success in their life valued their time first and foremost. And that's not what I see here. So when you're outside and you're picketing with your signs, you know what that says to me from a business standpoint? That screams desperation. So really, if I'm looking at this from the corporation standpoint, it's like one of two things going to happen. Okay, you got your contracts and your union leaders and this and that. So there's going to have to be some sort of negotiations. So you're not necessarily just going to lose your job over this. However, it is possible that you could be replaced. Either you become replaced or you yourself are going to quit and move on because you need to start making some income. I mean, if you're out here right now and you're not getting paid, you're not eating. And once that belly hits that back, you're going to be, all right, I got to go. I got to do something. So what I'm saying is, like, instead of like waiting around, and it's foolish too. Another point that I wanted to make is that it's foolish because I don't know who any of you are. Like all of you people that are out here and you're doing this, you are one, not only wasting your time, you're squandering your potential. If you're so valuable, that is, to be out here and with such, what is it? The word hubris. You're out here marching around with such hubris to be making these demands upon the company that you effectively work for as an employee. You are hired help. You are the help as far as that goes. And you can say that that sounds belittling or whatever, but it is what it is. We're talking about a corporation here. This isn't a mom and pop shop. This isn't a company that's run by people who saw you, when you were in diapers and grew up, and then they wanted to give you a job because they genuinely care about you as an individual. Okay. No, we're talking about effectively what is a machine. A corporation, corporate entity is a machine, and all it cares about is numbers. It doesn't give a crap if you've been surviving off cat food for the past 3 months. It does not care about that. It doesn't care if you can make rent. Okay. That's your problem, not the corporation's problem, as far as that goes. So that's what I really want to drive home here. If people who are looking at this, because you're going about this all the wrong way. And may I make a suggestion, if I dare do so? These types of folks out here, like I said, I don't know who any of you are. That's one issue that I see right here, because what you've been doing with your time is investing it in somebody else's business. First and foremost, you people have been representing the HarperCollins name, not your name. You haven't been spending your time making a name for yourself or building up your own brand recognition, which would have been which would be in the long term a better use of your time. Now, this isn't to say that there isn't light at the end of the tunnel in terms of as far as this goes. I'll tell you right now, for one, you would never catch my ass standing outside, just standing around, walking around in circles, holding a stupid sign. You will never ever catch my ass. Mark my words, you will never catch my ass doing that. You will never see a photo of me in a newspaper or an article or anything wasting my time. I wouldn't waste my time. I got better things to do with my time than to do that and be basically crying about whether or not it's just desperate. It just screams of desperation is what I'm saying. And if you guys are so valuable, not to say that you aren't, but the point is it's like you guys have painted yourself into a corner where it's like, you need this to work. That's what this looks like to me. Like you guys need this to work. You need this contract to go through. You need this because you're in a desperate situation in your own personal lives, what have you. I don't know. But that's what this looks like to me. And what I'm saying is, if you guys worked for so many years or whatever, for so long for this company, surely you must have been taking some notes. If you were smart, if you were really smart, you were taking some notes and you were learning about the business itself, how to run the business, how to run a publishing house, the ins and the outs of the whole industry from the inside. You got an inside look at how the industry runs. Are you kidding me? And then your skills on top of that. How many heads do you see in that video right now? Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, you have a small staff of individuals right there that are allegedly have talent, bring value to the table, that make money allegedly for the company. So what the hell, my question to you is, we're in a new age now. What the hell is stopping you people from getting together? If you wanted to, you know each other, right? You've worked side by side with each other. So there's not there's already some built-in trust right then and there, because you guys are co-workers, probably had chit-chat and conversations. You probably know a little bit about each other's lives. So what is stopping you guys from getting together, saying, screw this place, and you guys get together, you form your own company, you form your own publishing company, you could start your own publishing house. You have enough heads right now. I'll tell you right now, that right there is enough people to start your own publishing house. You could have, in other words, you could have multiple departments, and you could be doing multiple activities. You could have your own in-house magazine for marketing purposes. You could have your editors that go through the slush piles. You could be going through and picking up clients and publishing their books under your own label. Start bringing in some residuals. You know what I'm saying? But you know what that would require? That would require you guys to actually have some passion for what it is that you're doing. And I'll tell you right now, I don't see passionate folks in this photo right now. I see desperate folks. I see folks that are doing what they're doing to make a buck. And that's it. I mean, look at that. What was that headline? The headline says it all. Quote, "It's a cycle of misery and low pay." You're miserable at your job, dude? I guarantee you there are plenty of middle-aged white women on Twitter that would gladly trade places with you in a minute, and wouldn't have to worry about the income because their livelihoods are supplemented by their husband. So I'm just saying, you guys are running a fool's errand right now. Let's get into the other article. I feel like I'm addressing children. You know, these are things, like, for me, like, I grew up old school. Like, this is like a no-brainer for me. You know what I mean? Like I say, you would never catch my ass out there all bundled up, got your mittens on, standing out in the cold looking like a jackass, holding the frickin' sign for the Teamsters. It's not even your cause. It's the union's cause. This one comes from The Guardian. Different angle on this. Same story. Says HarperCollins union workers go on strike over pay. Quote, "for as long as it takes." This one is a little bit different because it says down at the bottom here, it says workers at the only Big Four publisher to have a union authorize indefinite strike over low wages and diversity. All right, let's see what they have to say. So Stephanie Gurdon started working in the children's book department of HarperCollins publishers 6 years ago. It was a dream job, just not a dream paycheck. The $33,500 a year salary was well below a livable wage in New York City, but Gurdon didn't ask for more. "I was terrified that I was not going to get that job if I negotiated," they said. I'd say they. Isn't it she? She said. It says they said, but whatever. "Publishing is very much an industry where they tell you, if you don't want this, there are 500 people in line behind you who do." Exactly. And that's the cold, hard fact of the matter. Publishing has for decades. See, it's like a prestige thing. And that's why I don't understand. Like, these people, they want to get into these companies because a part of it is, yes, you're getting into the industry. It's like built-in prestige. So you get to say, oh, I work at HarperCollins, but that's a trap. That's what I've been trying to tell you guys. Like, it's a trap that these companies, they know they're playing that game. They know they're playing upon your more base sensibilities, where it's like you don't necessarily want to do the work as far as that goes. Not to say that you didn't work hard to get into the company. I don't really, maybe you have your English degree or you've got creative writing degree, what have you. Kudos to you for doing that and accomplishing that. But this isn't to take away from the fact that these companies know exactly what they're doing when, they understand that they hold leverage over you. It's not the other way around. These are highly, highly sought after jobs. Why? Because of the built-in prestige that they bring along with it. So if you're the type of person where you're like la-di-da, you need that la-di-da type of, accomplishment attached to your name. Like, ooh, I worked for HarperCollins. That you need that, you're falling into their trap at the end of the day. And I'll tell you this right now, it only benefits HarperCollins. Okay? Because the vast, vast majority of people in this day and age, we're in a new age, are going indie for a reason, for good reasons. This being one of those reasons. Who wants to waste their frickin' time standing outside in the cold, holding a sign, when you could be doing what you actually have a passion for, which is the writing, the editing, the publishing, just getting down to business in general. Publishing has for decades has been known for its low pay and overwhelmingly white staff. But workers at HarperCollins, the only member of the Big Four publishing house to have a union, have had enough and authorized an indefinite strike. Was that the workers' idea? Seriously. The vast majority of people that I saw in that photo from the other article were white. Just saying. So that doesn't really make any sense to me that they would authorize a strike in the name of diversity and cut their pay by not working because they want equal opportunity, as if that doesn't already exist. Just very strange. Can you imagine arguing yourself out of a job? What the hell is going on? Logic. But workers at HarperCollins, the only member of the Big Four publishing house to have a union, have had enough, authorized, blah, blah, blah. The employees, like Gurdon, who is a shop steward at the union, spilled on the streets to picket. We want to create a workplace that is more financially sustainable for employees and accessible to people from a variety of backgrounds, said Olga Brodostova, president of Local 2110 United Auto Workers, the union at HarperCollins. All right. So more than 250 HarperCollins employees are unionized, aka they have a contract with the union. And this is what I don't like about unions, is like you're over there and you're kind of like you're at the mercy of whatever is on their agenda. I know there's a vote involved, but let me just say this, that democracy appeals to the lowest common denominator when it comes to intelligence and logic. And as you can see, not a whole hell of a lot of rationale behind this. Imagine being the poor schmuck. You're now out of work because you got sucked into some nonsense that some other people wanted to start. I can't imagine that. It's a big no thank you from me, I have to say. I would be thankful that I have a job and I would be focused on my business within the company. What is it that I'm bringing to the table? What am I doing I'm concerned about my position in the company, because that's the type of mentality you have to have when you work for a corporation. This isn't a social affair. You know, you guys think that you want to make it a social affair, but it's very much, as you are seeing right now, you are getting the harsh reality of this. And many of you are going to have a wake-up call when this does not go your way, if it doesn't go your way, I should say. I mean, because a lot of this is I would imagine, is out of the company's hands. You don't see the company's bottom line, so you can't say that the company has the funds to do this or that in particular when it comes to these matters. The strike was authorized by a vote of 95.1%. Wow. Holy crap. 95% of the union workers living in delusion. It comes after 11 months of negotiations at HarperCollins management over a new contract and one-day strike that occurred on the 20th of July. The average salary of the company is $55,000. That's $10,000 more than in the last article. The average salary at the company is $55,000. I mean, the numbers to me are arbitrary. You know what I mean? You guys aren't coming at this from a matter of principle. I'm coming at this from a matter of principle. You know, you're trying to make demands upon the company and effectively dictate to them how to structure their business, as if you know, I don't know, like you're trying to make it so they have to restructure their business and come up with a new business plan. And it's like there are outside factors to take into consideration, externalities, if you will, if you're familiar with that term in economics, that may be creating pressures upon the company. And you, again, like I say, without seeing the bottom line, how can you know they're capable of doing this or that? So the only way I really see this, what happens here, is that the company will probably end up, if anything, this may not end up turning into anything, and then it'll just go back to business as usual. That's best case scenario. And people are going to have to learn how to restructure their personal lives in order to fit in, if this is the type of career choice they want to continue to pursue, or else they're going to have to make some personal decisions and find a new way to make a living if this isn't cutting the mustard. At which point, that's real action being taken with your feet. You're walking the walk. You can't talk the talk. You're never going to get anywhere just by talking the talk. I'll tell you that much. You got to walk the walk. You got to be willing to walk the walk. So the more people that walk, it's going to force the company to reconsider and restructure. And what is more apt to happen in that scenario is the company simply going to have to downsize. They will downsize. They will probably restructure. They could possibly even move locations too. That's also another. That's also another possibility. We're willing to stay out as long as it takes, Gurdon said, again, screaming desperation. After about a week, the company is really going to feel the loss of all our essential labor. That's what you think. It's kind of like I say again, if it's that essential, and if it boasts a certain value, in other words, a number, you have an arbitrary number in your head of what you are worth to the company. That's what these negotiations are for. Then my question again just goes back to, why the hell aren't you people just organizing on your own and forming your own company and coming up with a better business plan? For instance, one that doesn't require maintenance of real estate, for instance. And you could go, and you guys don't have to stay in New York. You could move someplace You could start the business someplace where there is a lower cost of living. You see what I'm saying? So day-to-day operations would be extremely cheap by comparison. These are all ideas. I'm an idea-oriented guy. Like, let's come up with solutions, people, not bitch about your lot in life and hoping that other people come up with solutions to fix what is ultimately your problem. I hate to have to put it that way, but apparently your daddies in your life, or maybe if you didn't have one, never explained how the real world works. Okay, the real world does not care about your individual personal problems. Okay, you can't pay rent, that's your problem. You know what I mean? You got to figure it out. Maybe you get roommates. Maybe you downsize yourself. You move in to a house with like several people and you share space and you all split the rent. You know what I'm saying? The company doesn't care about that crap. All right. So I feel like I'm starting to circle this conversation here. You guys let me know what you think. A little bit of a spicy one this week, I have to say, but the conversation continues, and I thought that was relevant to the topic, and I wanted to cover that one as it was coming at it from a little bit different angle. We can start to see, if you read between the lines there, that these companies are starting to feel, it seems like some of these companies are starting to feel the sting of what could be the greatest depression that this country has ever faced. So buckle up.